Should have a guest on the phone. Are you there, guest?
Yeah, I think so.
There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you to singer, songwriter, mechanech, AI expert, my good friend, the one and only Zevi Kaufman. You there, Zevi?
Yes, Yossi, Rabbi Yossi, thank you so much for having me on.
Zevi, it's a pleasure. We're glad to have you stateside. We know you don't come here that often.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem, we hop over as needed, and this has been a longer trip, and yeah, nice to be on the same time zone for a little bit.
Has it really been 16 years since your debut album came out?
Ooh, it seems like it. I try not to look at the time, but it seems pretty close. What it was? Yeah, 2010.
Music, Language of My Soul. That was your debut album back in the day with a very futuristic cover. It had that Neo / Matrix top over there with the numbers falling down.
Yes, that was really, it's interesting. Rav Yom Tov Glazer, okay, if you're familiar,
sure.
He told me that a person's first album can sometimes be compared to like a carbon. Where like this is your, this is me. This is, I'm bringing a part of myself, and bringing it, hopefully, to be mechazik people, and it's an avoda. It's an avoda, and that was, at the time I don't want to give away my age, but I believe I put out that album when I was 17, 18 years
you were
old.
single back then. Things are different, right?
It was very different, and those songs were such a part of my my growth as a person, and things I did with my songs I wrote with my father, some compositions with my father, songs that I had no idea that Akavia would blow up in the way that it did, and songs like music that people really connected to a song about music. On My Way, which really these songs, I have people who stop me all the time, about the first album and, how it impacted them. And even many of, the popular musicians today, how some of the things at that time were, new genres for the Jewish music landscape.
No, it definitely was. For me, one of the songs that I always loved was an underrated song called Clock, which Shlomi Kaufman, I think, joined you on, your cousin.
So it's actually really funny that you mentioned Clock, because Clock, we had a debate. Okay, so first of all, cousin Shlomi, okay, and we'll put it on the record that it's cousin Shlomi. Shlomi is not my father, and we're going to make things even more complicated for people. Okay, that Shlomi is not my father, and Zevi Kaufman is and isn't Shlomi's son. Right? Okay, that's where things get really, really complicated. Okay, so Shlomi loved me so much that he decided to name a child Zevi Kaufman with the exact same spelling, who's part of TYH Boys. Okay, not me, not the same person, although
that's
we love
that's
Zevi.
Shlomi Kaufman's, that's Shlomi's son.
It's Shlomi's son, exactly. So it already made things more complicated because people saw that Shlomi produced the first album, and people thought that he was my father. And Shlomi is my very dear first cousin, and we are extremely, extremely close. I just saw him the other day, and Shlomi and I had a debate about Clock. Okay, there was wanted more of this future. I had imagined it in the realm of like a folk type of song, like very guitar centered, and he had this vision for this electronic type of arrangement, Clock, and it's mamish beautiful. It's mamish beautiful how it came out on the album. But what's funny is that since the war broke out in Eretz Yisrael, and the missiles, and the insanity, with Iran. So we were mamish in the thick of things, when things were starting. Mm-hmm. And I was looking for ways to be able to keep my kids calm in the miklat, in the bomb shelters when we would go down. Right. So ironically, even though I've been writing music since I'm a little kid, and I played a little bit of piano, I picked up guitar for Kamat the first time at 35. Oh, I gave away my age. Yeah, at 35 years old.
Okay.
I picked up guitar, and for the past, I don't know, year and a half or whatever it is, I've actually been picking it up, and I've fallen in love with it a little bit. And one of the things that's actually upcoming is an acoustic version of Clock, because I've been playing that a tremendous amount, and I want to be able to give people that vision of it as well. So that's something that's upcoming.
I loved it. I am the clock on your wall. It was a good song. It had some good.
Yeah,
it was a serious song. Very serious song, though.
It could be. We'll see how fast we can pull it off. We'll be able to give a first listen to the Z Report Chavra of the acoustic version of the song. It was
so let's go over this. 16 years since your debut album. But, since then you have a Kavya remix, Ani Maman, Ashira, B'Yeshiva Shali, which didn't make the album, Chanukah Sabayas.
Final Say, also early if you're going chronologically.
You're right. Wait, then
Final Say was the first song after the album.
You also have that song that you did with, what's his name, Avi Abrams, Fly Away. That was a good song.
Fly Away also, yes. There's also other stuff with Avi, which I hope one day we'll put out. There's some stuff the world would love. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Definitely. So now now Zevi says, okay, you know what? It's been 16 years. Let's drop an album. And right before, what was it, the 3 weeks? Yeah, right before 3 weeks, right? Right after, between Shavuos and the 3 weeks. Zevi says, you know what? I'm dropping, and not a 10-song album, not an EP, 4 songs, no. I'm dropping 17 tracks.
Amazing. Yep.
Now, some of these were released already, right?
Yes. There are a bunch of songs that were already released, and there are 7 fresh, completely unreleased tracks that are on this album. Mm-hmm. And it gets in, there are lots of different cheshbonos. I'm sure you're speaking with a lot of different artists, and I've spoken with a lot of artists and producers, and gotten lots of different takes and hot takes about the approach over here. Right, we see that currently it's just put out an EP, right? 4-track album, and Morty put out, an album in a few different segments, and there's all different types of mixes that are going on. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, they're because of the fact that over the past 16 years, wow, it's crazy that it's been that long. We've been putting out a single here, a single there, things that have been associated with movements or organizations.
You there, Zevi?
Side with the last Yamashats. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I lost you for a second.
Can you hear me? Did I lose you?
No, you did for a second.
Oh, sorry. I was saying that Lule Seirascha, right? Lule mm-hmm. was released in honor of Siyam Hashas, right? We're about
and it
to
was played.
And
it was played before the Siyam started, as we were coming into the stadium.
It was played, and it was Malava. It was Malava La'ilam out. I don't know if it was played both. It was definitely played at the Siyam, which was a tremendous cover. And also Ivdu was used. We did the music video, and it was used to promote the Ivdu schools. So it was very powerful over the past number of years. Yossi, you're still with me? You can hear me?
Of course I am. Yes.
Yeah, being able to put out these different singles at different points, and have them do their things, right? Like Yeshiva Shali came out, which was not on the album, but that came out around COVID when people were we were trying to focus on the beauty of being able to be in your yeshiva, right? If people were quarantined, during for the Rosh Hashanah davening, etc.
Chanukah Sabayas was Chanukah 2023.
Chanukah Sabayas, yeah, Chanukah Sabayas, yeah.
Acheinu Moichel 2024.
Exactly. So each one of them, there's a real musical journey that was going on in terms of why each song came out at each time, and I felt that together with the team, I felt that it was these singles deserved to also be a part of a story on an album. Mm-hmm. Some of the songs that already came out as singles, and to be able to give them like a panim chadashas, they were remastered for the album, and there's a story there. Bez Hashem, there'll be videos and things that are going to be coming up that are going to explore that more in depth. Mm-hmm. But the idea was to be able to give they're not even so old, but yeah, to give the ones that were released as singles, give them a panim chadashas in the context of the album, mm-hmm. as well as to introduce a bunch of powerful new songs. Hodu, Vaharev, the Acheinu, at the center of it all, mm-hmm. right? So that was a bit of the mahalach of getting everything together, and let's put it in one beautiful package that listeners can enjoy and be able to connect to.
Another 2 songs listeners might remember is Ezrat Hashem Nenatzech, which was featured on Ari Goldwag's album. Mm-hmm. And Eich Nach Shir Yerushalayim, featuring Naftali Blumenthal, I think was released as a single, was it not, or not?
Yes. Eich Nach Shir was Naftali. First of all, Naftali is a dear friend and an extremely talented musician and producer. Naftali arranged 2 songs on the album. He arranged the the album feature track Acheinu, okay, which is his production arrangement, which is incredible, and Ich Nashir, we did together. We were actually in America, and we were both. Naftali is living in America now, but we were both at the time. He was living in Eretz Yisrael, and we were both really missing Yerushalayim, and like that song came out just from like a real feeling of pining for Eretz Yisrael, for Yerushalayim, and yeah, that was really, really powerful. You also mentioned Bezrat Hashem Nenatzeach. So that was a pleasure to collaborate with Reb Ari, where I brought him this idea. I was extremely involved with this project of getting tefillin for soldiers who were asking for them as shmira, during the conflict in Eretz Yisrael. And in the context of that, we came to Ari with the concept of V'rochol Ami Haaretz Kishem Hashem Nikra Alecha V'yar Mimeka, which is the pasuk that talks about how tefillin is protection. And Ari and I had heard a song, and there were pieces that came together, and Ari wrote this incredible masterpiece, Bezrat Hashem Natseach, which is became a real hit in Eretz Yisrael. And we subsequently did the really powerful music video to raise awareness about the tefillin. That was an incredible thing, and I'm very proud to be featuring that as well on the album.
Zevi Kaufman with us via telephone, talking about the release of his newest album, his second album, first time in 16 years. The album's entitled Acheinu. Zevi, tell us, with 17 tracks on the album, why this song should be the title track.
So it's interesting. I was thinking about it on a bunch of different levels, and there's an aspect in the word Acheinu. So it's interesting when you talk about the word echad, you talk about achdus. So I had an idea once, and I run it by different rabbanim in terms of whether this works, and maybe if one of the listeners has a ha'ara, or a maramakam, they can share it with us. But the concept of Shairashim, right? Every Hebrew word has a shairish, right? There are sometimes 3 letters, there's 2 letters. So the question is the word echad, okay, is chad the shorish of the word echad, or is it ach? Brother, right?
Right.
Okay, so I found that this to be a fascinating question, and I spoke with some linguists, and they told me, Rabbanim, Chashva Rabbanim, about this, and they said yesh b'zeh davar, there is such a thing. Again, exactly. I'm looking for a good maramakam, but I was thinking about this concept of of brotherhood. I was thinking about the concept of oneness, of unity, and we look at the world today, and we see so much divisiveness. And if you look at the themes, there are 3 themes, as my dear friend, my dear very close friend Tzvi Gross pointed out to me, of the recent batches of songs that I've been writing and producing. They really fall into a couple of buckets. They fall into Torah, they fall into Achdus, and they fall into, which did not make it to this album, but they fall into Shabbos.
I was going to say Israel, Achdus, but you don't see Israel anywhere?
Israel. Achdus. So Eretz Yisrael, that's true. So in other words, to me, Achdus, in other words, Klal Yisrael be'Achdus in Eretz Yisrael is a combination. It's Eretz Yisrael Geula. I don't have the exact terminology. He had a very succinct way of putting it in terms of the three buckets. But there's also Shabbos, which I think may need to be its own album, because there's a bunch of Shabbos Zmiris which are in the works in terms of some amazing new productions with Zmiris. But the concept of Acheinu, that song, I play a bit of piano, and as the war was ramping up, I just sat at the piano, and this I just cried this into the piano. Acheinu Mamash just fell that way into the piano, and it's one of the 2 songs. Bring up a vulnerability over here. I believe 2 songs on this album that I wrote with tears were Lule and Acheinu, and I think that thematically sums up my approach with the album. Lule was a song I wrote. I wrote when I was in between Ben Zmanim, and I had an amazing Zmanim yeshiva, and I was just missing yeshiva, and I was thinking about this concept of Lule Sarascha Shashuai Azavat Tivyani, how Torah is what defines us, and subsequently, been able to sing that for many, many Balei Tshuva through our Sameach over the past decade, and so many have resonated with the "If not for your Torah," right? Like that refrain, which is like piercing, right? And then Acheinu is this concept of bringing it all together. Like what makes us brothers, right? That's one of the lines I was thinking about with this album. What makes us brothers is that we have the same father, and how do we know that? We know that from Torah. So we can't have Achdus without Torah, and what's our Torah if we don't have Achdus?
Very interesting. You should know, Lule, I feel it because I'm intimately known with the song, and I've played it a ton of times. I feel a connection to it. Acheinu, I'm still learning, for the first few rounds. It's brand new for me, so I hope one day it'll do that for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Acheinu. There's a couple of other Acheinus, and to me, like there's something about the way that it moves of like the tenuousness of the low part of Acheinu Kol Beis Yisrael. And then it's moving into the refrain, the triumphant of Hamakoy Mirachem Mirachem Aleichem, where mamish, like there's in the melody that came with this is like a feeling of a haftacha, like Hamaka Mirachem, yeah, Hashem Yirachem Aleichem Yotziim Mitzara Lirvacha, like bringing us from pain to moving us forward. And the Naimar Amein, and that this is bringing us home, right? It's interesting. The song was coming together during a time when there was, bring them home,
right?
And even though I didn't want to emphasize, this as much, I didn't want it to become too political, and that was part of the reason, it was in production, and I wasn't rushing it along, to fit a particular time, but the idea was that it's not bring them home. We are Klal Yisrael. It's bring us home.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Zevi Kaufman with us via telephone. Zevi, I was also looking at the song layout. Lule, slow. Ashira, also slow. Then Kitov Hashem, insanely fast. Because I love Kitov Hashem. I think Eli Kleinitzi Berry did that one, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
And then it has live brass in it, which you don't have a lot of today.
Yes. I love that arrangement. That actually, Kitov Hashem is the only song on the album that, again, it's not true. It's not the only song. In other words, Bezrat Hashem Natseach, I had the concept, and Ari wrote the song, and also someone else wrote the, I think it's a Tara Bracha Shon. You can see it in the liner notes over there, but who wrote the lyrics. But I had come with the original concept. But Kitov Hashem is the only song that I did beyond that I didn't write on the album. It was a song that I heard from Mordechai Brizel, and I'm like, I
didn't know that. I thought it was yours.
No, Kitov Hashem was written. You can see it if you look at any of the press releases.
Now you're reminding me. No, I heard the demo a long time, probably like at least.
Mordechai Brizel wrote Kitov Hashem, and I heard the song, and it blew my mind. It blew my mind. I loved the song, and I was like, how are we going to do this? And I had known Yitzi Berry for a long time, and it was such a pleasure to produce it, by him and Ellie Klein, and it was amazing. It really came out beautiful, and it's just such a beautiful representation of the words and giving it like a different oomph. A big part of even my first album, again, the song music really emphasizes it, with words that match the music, words that don't just rhyme. So my Rebbe, Reb Chaim Dov Stark, Shlita in Eretz Yisrael, so he has some amazing shirim on music, and I've had so many conversations with him about music over the years, and that's really shaped a lot of the new direction of music that we've been producing. So there's an incredible Rav Hirsch that talks about the difference between Jewish music and non-Jewish music. Okay, and it's incredible. I could send you a markup for it, which talks about how in the secular world, music starts off, with we start off with a tune, and then we need words just to throw onto it. But Rav Hirsch puts forth that Jewish music starts with the words. Again, we have to deal with, Nigunim and how they work,
I'm
but
not
he
going to
doesn't deal
talk
with
to
it over there.
Yossi Green about this and Eli Schwab and Baruch Levine.
I'm sure they have. Exactly. I want to hear their Messiah in it, but I could show you what Rav Hirsch wrote in, what is it, the 1800s, about how a Jewish, that the objective is that the tune is giving life to the message that's there. So again, everybody, there could be different machinas, different shvatim in Klal Yisrael. I definitely resonate strongest with the camp of music that is coming to create connection, music that is coming to communicate. It was funny. I was once asked in an interview with, Mishpacha. They asked me, they said, what music do you use to wind down? So I said, me personally, I don't use music that way. I hear that there are people who do, but I don't use music to wind down. I use music, in a realm of communication, connection. Those are, those are what we're trying. That's what we're trying to do with the songs. So therefore, it's our greatest, privilege when we have the opportunity to collaborate with, organizations, right? We've done music projects with our Sameach, with the OU. We had the song featured at the Siyam. All that is really the music coming out and doing something. But also, it's extremely powerful. Yes, you still there?
I'm still here, Zevi.
It was extremely, extremely powerful. I just heard from many people were moved by over Tisha B'Av. So many people were moved by the different videos, but specifically the one that Yaakov Langer did with Living L'Chaim about Charlotte.
Yes.
Olav Shalom. So I was blown away. I had no idea. Yudi Hertzberg and I had grown up together. We began to shift together, and I reached out about how moved I was from the video. And Yudi told me, he's like, Zevi, you have no idea how helpful your song Harini Michael was for me, because the whole thing is about how he was Michael, his chavrusa, he and his wife.
Wow.
And he told me how. So I had no idea. I'm writing a song, and I'm producing a song about Mechila and about the concept of going above and beyond in Mechila. You have no idea. So beyond doing stuff with organizations, just an individual hears a song, and if it gives them from Lule, it gives them a chavivus for Torah, or it gives somebody a chizik to be mavatir. To me, it's worth it. It's worth all the work, everything that these songs can do something and be mechazik another yid.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, Zevi Kaufman with us via telephone. We're talking about the release of his latest album, his second, Acheinu, the first in 16 years. Zevi, I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Yossi.
I'm going to play you out with Acheinu. I know we can continue schmoozing for the next 15, 20 minutes, but I got to wind down this show, so maybe we'll do a part 2 at some point. So Acheinu, composed by Zevi Kaufman, arranged by Naftali Blumenthal, correct?
Yes, arranged, produced by Naftali. Yes.
Okay, Zevi Hatzlacha Rabba, so have a safe trip back. Ladies and gentlemen, Zevi Kaufman, here he is off his brand new album, Acheinu, the title track, Acheinu, you're listening to the Z Report live right here, J Network Scoop Radio, Nachum Segal Network.
Acheinu, Kol Beis Yisrael, Hanasunim Batzaro Vashivyo, Ha'oindim Bein Bayom Uvein Bayabosho. Acheinu Kol Beis Yisrael, Hanasunim Batzaro Vashivyo, Ha'oindim Bein Bayom Vaya Boshon Hamokoin Yirachem Aleim Yotziyei Nitzoro Lirvacha Umeafelo Lioiro Umishibod Ligiyulo Hashtoba